elevator pitch.
There was a really quick little article about, we had a really lucrative summer and we're getting back into this issue with the creative community on compensation. So traditionally you got way back in the day, you got a front end big paycheck, that $20 million for doing these films.
You had a quote for doing
yeah. And then movie stars figured out and executives figured out that if they didn't do a huge upfront fee, then the cost of the movie could go down and they could compensate on the profits on the back end. So then the back end compensation started to get more popular. So I'll take a lower fee up front to help with the cost of financing this film and I'll make mine on the back end. Well, now we're moving into there's no more back end. There's very little back end because
of the streaming component.
Because of the streaming component, because you've cut from a 90-day window down to, if we're lucky, a 45-day window or sometimes a 17-day window.
A theater or a film company would take your film directly to streaming where there's no deal.
Where there's no
money.
deal.
There's no theatrical money.
Yeah. So you're not making any money. So now, we have even the likes of Tom Cruise, who I would say saved the summer with Top Gun Maverick. Paramount still cut a broadcast deal post theatrical that was like a sweetheart deal for one of the what is the company, I can't remember what, anyways,
for Paramount Plus.
No, it wasn't it was a broadcast thing that they're part of because these are now global companies. So it was like a broadcast deal, but anyways, they cut a sweetheart deal. And even Tom Cruise it
wasn't Epix, was it?
I think it's Epix, yeah.
Okay, I'm just looking through. There's a lot of company names in this article, but
the point is that
as I skim through, it might be Epix.
They have stakes in these companies, and so they cut themselves a deal, and so they don't make the profit.
Same thing with WB and HBO.
They don't go out and get the most money because they want to support their struggling.
Scarlett Johansson Disney Plus thing.
It's not streaming. In this case,
correct,
Paramount. It was,
but it's not dissimilar.
Right. It's not dissimilar.
Still those back end deals that are
and it's just Hollywood accounting. It's like a sweetheart deal where if you had just gone and taken your property put it on the open market, you would have gotten a market level revenue from that. But Paramount was going and undercutting that because they wanted to give what is a valuable product to somebody cheaper because they have a stake in that and they'll see profit in other ways, whereas the open market profit would have been seen by the back end as part of the back end profit sharing. So it's just that's going to be coming out more and more. And I'm afraid as we go through this that the big issue is that the creative community will get smart to that and they'll say, nope, I'm going to get mine up front again. Right now, you take our movies to streaming before I even act in a single scene, I want my pay up front. So now we're going to go back to the high up front costs because there's no profit in the back end anymore to share. So they're going to know their value.
You're Tom Cruise and you signed a back end deal for Top Gun Maverick and Mission Impossible 7 and 8.
Right.
This Top Gun made him the highest paid actor for a single film in history.
Wow. It's crazy.
Yep.
This is the one thing that Tom Cruise and I both believe in. The theatrical exhibition. Yeah. There's nothing else that
we share.
We're not going to see eye to eye on much else.
No, that's it.
But this.
We both believe in theatrical and that Katie Holmes was pretty.
Yeah. So if
you can share enough drinks over those two things, right?
The money is so much in the front because when you're going through and stars really need to know their value because when you're going through that super long menu of just every film, you're kind of like, what makes this one special? Why would I want to watch this one?
Especially nowadays.
Yeah, when I can watch 10 films just like it. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, this one has a Ryan Reynolds in it, so I will pick this one because I like him. So now the star power is coming back.
And it has to be, like we've harped on forever, that it has to be that this movie made $100 million.
Right.
So it made 10 million people
This movie was in theaters, so I know it's at least sort of good because it made it to theaters. There's that what we, filtering that value add to the menu. So not only is theatrical important now, but the star in it is becoming more important on the menu. So if that's the case, then when stars start requesting their money ahead of time, knowing their value, and not taking the chance that they may or may not get back end if they keep doing this Hollywood accounting. And then when that just make the movies more expensive to finance on the front end again, and so now we're snowballing into this. Well, the studio can't afford to make so many expensive movies, so they're going to make a few cheap ones for streaming and a few expensive ones to put in the theater. And now we've got less product in the theater, and we've got really crappy product in streaming. And I just feel like it's turning streaming, although I'm not boo-hooing over this, just back into that self-fulfilling, like, only crap goes on streaming and the good stuff goes in the theater.
Well, that's why I'm kind of liking what's going on with the direction over at Warner Bros. To a degree, is that these new heads are wanting to avoid that. They're not wanting to. I think they're gonna hope to make stuff look great and not cheap, but they're at least gonna avoid the quantity part on streaming. But they're gonna focus that quantity part a little bit more towards theatrical, hopefully.
Right.
But it's gonna have that level of, not expensiveness, I'm trying to think of the word for it, but just that level of care that we're hoping that we're getting out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that other streaming services and companies start to realize that's a good plan.
I think they are. I think the big issues, like, Warner's gets it.
Mm-hmm.
They were the ones that experimented with a full year of day and dating, and it didn't work. And so the new CEO coming in is going to have a robust streaming site that's mostly caters to, like, more of the television episodic stuff. Then they're going to have a very robust theatrical slate.
Mm-hmm.
But he has already said he's not making movies that are purely for streaming.
Right.
They're going to make movies for theatrical. And so I do want to support that great behavior. I want to positively reinforce it. That's why I went to Don't Worry, Darling. I wish it was a better one right in this moment to go to. So, like, check out Elvis. And then go see Black Adam.
Yeah.
So there are good films for that. Disney, they are still figuring it out. I think they are making mistakes by making films for streaming, because they're finding, I think what they're going to start seeing is less and less return in the theatrical, and they're going to be like, what's going on? Well, you made everything on Disney Plus, and so everybody thinks they're going to get it for $8 a month.
Yeah.
So I think they'll come around to it, but they, being a bigger behemoth, I think it's harder for them to pivot. A lot of the decisions of what to put and what not to put have been set in stone longer. I am more worried about what they've done to their Pixar brand. I feel like they're relegating that purely to streaming for some reason. And
which I still am baffled by.
Yeah.
Like, TV shorts, TV shows, that's one thing. It's fine, whatever. But the movies, really? Like, that's still confusing.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing is, like, some of the movies that have gone right to Disney Plus were not the greatest. So, like, the new Pinocchio movie, I think that decision to put that on Disney Plus was made because they were seeing diminishing returns on their live action remakes. And so they had greenlit so many of them. Right. And got them put into place. But then after, you throw 2 or 3 out in the market and the third and fourth one aren't doing so well, then I think, somebody made a decision a while ago to do it this way. And so it sucks because we're so starved for content right now.
That will take those remakes.
Bad Disney content is better than nothing.
Yeah.
So I think that's still an issue being figured out. And Universal, for the most part, they are very good theatrical supporters, but then they do something like put Halloween Ends day and date with Peacock.
Right.
It's just like, why, if you have one other major studio saying we're not going to do this anymore, why are you out there doing it? Like, what do you think day and dating is helping? I don't think at this point, if anybody wanted Peacock, they would have got it. It's $1.99.
Well, this is why I'm not as I'm not in the same boat as you, where you think like that changing up the ideas of putting all the quantity on streaming is still not going away from their minds. I still think it is going to take a while longer before they realize that, because they're doing these moves still that you're describing.
Right.
So until I see, I don't know, someone else besides a Warner Bros, like a Disney or something, before I see that change happening, I'm just not buying it. I think there's still going to be stuck in the mud about it. They're gonna agree to these front-ended deals from these stars, and despite them not wanting to spend that money, they would rather do that than
lose those stars to a different
lose those
film company.
stars, and they want to still try and make the streaming thing work because they really
there's
don't
only
want to
so
work
much
with
money.
theatrical.
So I think what you're gonna see, there's only so much money to go around. So either you're gonna see less product being created for theaters, or less product, like less quality product being made for streaming, because streaming can't have less product. You need constant content to churn up, like to refresh. So they can't do less product for streaming. So that's going to be more, that all they can do is save money on the cost of that. So now they're producing less quality there.
I wonder if that lesson will be learned, though. I kind of wonder if streaming can still benefit and not pump out so much.
Like go back to the more episodic, like TV.
I think so. I
mean,
think there is a chance for that to work.
They are trying to do that to keep everybody tuning in at one day and not binge watch and go through.
It's way better marketing for them. So, I mean, the marketing dollars could be a little bit better. Or, I mean, for some of them, they don't even spend marketing at all. So maybe it'll improve it for them, in all honesty. But at the same time, like, I think audiences could be feeling a fatigue to where it's too much of streaming, especially during the pandemic, where they kind of have learned about what to expect out of some of these streamers.
I think I was kind of thinking about Netflix mostly, and
yeah,
because everybody's got their own kind of identity, but why Netflix did so good for so long is it was convenient. You got all the best. You got all this stuff that was really good from broadcast.
They were the trailblazer.
All the best movies at the time were
Others
on
caught
it.
up.
And then as they started, but the content, I think the quality of the content, it was theatrical movies, the things that had played in theaters, and it was broadcast television shows, which I feel like broadcast television shows acted very similar to the shared theatrical experience, because it was a national shared experience watching those things. So you get The Offices and you get Friends and you have all that, plus you have some of the Avengers films and the Disney films and stuff, and so it made a lot of sense why Netflix was doing so well. But now they lose that content and they only have original movies that they have to produce in-house, because the theatrical films are going on the other streamers, and and there's no more broadcast TV, and so it's just all these original shows. It's hard to create that national narrative for people to want to tune in and re-up.
For sure.
But if Spider-Man and Top Gun didn't change these shareholders and CEOs' minds, nothing's going to change their minds.
That's
until
true.
We get a new generation of people coming in thinking
what
different.
kind of
whatever new regime comes in.
Well, I don't know if it's the executive or if it's shareholders. Like they're only beholden to shareholders.
The executive is forced to make decisions based on the shareholders, or they find a new executive.